There we go. It's morning here, so the computer's like waking up too. So welcome to the integration of our Ahimsa April retreat. I think most of you are towards the end of it who are here. I guess that's not entirely true. Some of you may still have some more classes, but we're definitely on the downhill slope. And even if you haven't completed all the classes, and it's not about doing the whole thing, but as I went through the retreat this morning and I was reflecting back on the experience that we've all been through, I was looking at the arc of the classes. I would encourage you to take some time over the next week or so to give yourself some time to finish out the classes, because there is an arc to the retreat that takes you to an intensity that if you stay at that level of intensity, it's going to feel intense. And if you follow the classes all the way to the end, there will be a sense of settling and resolution. So it's set up in that way that it takes you to a peak, just like in a normal yoga class where you come to a peak pose and then you come down to, there is some settling that happens at the end, so that you don't walk away from this retreat completely charged and triggered. All these experiences, the retreat is designed to take you into an experience which you've all had. And you want to be able to come out of the experience in a way that allows you to walk into your life not being, completely triggered and charged. So I would encourage you to see the experience through over the next few days, and I'll be checking in and watching comments and responding to them. So that being said, we are going to do an integration here. And I'll go ahead and mute you all. We're going to, so that we can have a quiet environment for that. So let's begin by coming to our seat, our one seat, and feeling the earth underneath you. You can either lower your eyes to a 45-degree angle or close them completely for a more inward focus. And you could keep them that way for this entire, I'm going to give perhaps a little bit more lengthy talk than I normally would. So you could keep that gaze more inward for this whole talk so that you can connect with your inward experience for this. You may even want to turn off your video cameras for this, just to have that really internal embodied experience throughout this whole integration. So you're going to feel the earth underneath you. You may want to close your eyes or just let your eyes drop down at a more 45-degree angle. Lift and straighten your spine. Lift the back of your head, the crown of your head. Lower your chin and lengthen the back of your neck. And just feel your connection to the earth underneath you. And allow that energy to come up into your own body right now. Feeling that openness, that vastness, the stability, the peace, the support of the earth that is always present underneath you, feeling that connection and feeling that as part of you, not separate from you right now. And then resting into your own body, feeling the length of your spine, lengthening up through the back of your head, through the back of your neck. Allow yourself to rest in your body, to be completely present in your body. Need space between your teeth and allow your tongue to float in your mouth. Feeling that space along your back line, along the back line of your spine. And then let your attention rest gently on your breath in your lower belly. And then staying very much in this embodied space as we begin to reflect on our experience of this retreat. And that doesn't mean to stay in a completely pieced out, zoned out, blissed out state. It means to be open to your embodied experience. So as you listen to this talk now, it means to be open to how your body is responding to this talk, to this reflection of the retreat. So there may be parts of this reflection that your body is going to be open to all of it. And then there will be times that you will feel spaciousness, peace, flowing. And then there will be times when you feel something different, maybe a charge, maybe frustration, maybe anger. There'll be times when you'll feel a sense of sadness, sorrow, tears, grief, loss. Maybe times when you feel fear, compassion, and just keep staying connected to your body and allow whatever arises to arise. If tears are present, allow the tears to be present. If anger arises, allow anger to arise. If frustration is present, allow frustration to be present. If a sense of openness and spaciousness is present, be present with that openness and spaciousness. But you are just being asked to connect with your body and what is true for your body as you listen to this reflection of the retreat. So there is no right or wrong. There is only the way that you have experienced this retreat, the way that your body is relating to this retreat at this time, in this moment. And that's what you're bringing awareness to at this time. So feeling the earth underneath you, lifting and straightening your spine, lifting the back of your head, allowing yourself to be in your body and placing a gentle attention on your breath in your lower belly. Staying in your body, opening to however your body wants to relate to this reflection. So we began our retreat with the class to settle into your body, to connect with the stable foundation of the ground underneath you for security and safety. And from that place of strong support, we began to trust that we can connect with that openness that is always available for us in our bodies. When we settle into our bodies, we touch a nurturing ground of being, a sense of safety, perhaps, a sense of security, a sense of belonging, a sense of stability, perhaps. Perhaps that relationship is somewhat shaky. But it is here that we connect with life as it is, or we're being asked to connect with life as it is. And this was a big theme that was coming up for each and every one of us on this retreat. Opening to our lives as they are. Opening to what was actually happening. Not our agendas. Not our ideas about how things should happen. How we thought this retreat should unfold. But what was actually happening. I was reading through the comments this morning even, and I just loved what Jane said in one of the most recent comments when she said it felt like an emotional bomb had been dropped in the center of her home. This too was part of the retreat. That was no accident. That too was part of the experience. Our lives are part of our unfolding. Our lives are part of our retreat experience. When we connect with our bodies without wanting things to be different than they are, without violence or aggression, we will discover our pain, our desires, our grief, our losses, our fears, our loves, our kindness, our compassion, our giving heart, our sense of unworthiness, our worthiness, our boredom, our shame, our unfulfilled desires, our grudges, our forgiveness, our unforgiveness, our sadness, our hurt, and our healing. So settling into our bodies over the course of this retreat has allowed us to discover what is actually alive in ourselves. We recognize that just as there is joy in our life, there is joy in each and every person's life. Just as there is pain in our body, whether it be our physical body or our emotional body, there is pain in every person's body. And we can trust that we belong to an interconnected community of people who feel with bodies, just as we feel with bodies. And this interconnected community has been very much alive and felt through this retreat. When we connect with our hearts in an open and honest way, as we have over the last few days, we open to ourselves, to the people around us, to our families, to our communities, and we sense the connectedness of our community. And so it was very natural for us to open to the three jewels, to open to our true nature, to open in such a deep way to the teachings that help us to connect with our true nature, and to open to the Sangha or the community who support us on this path. And over the course of this retreat, I witnessed the way your true nature, the teachings themselves, and our community provided the shelter, protection, and secure conditions under which all of our practices could mature and grow and be nurtured. And these conditions allowed each and every one of you to experience your fullness as human beings this weekend. In the first talk over the course of this weekend, we were reminded of some of the core teachings that we were reminded of again and again and again this weekend. Our true nature exists in each and every one of us. It's not something we have to manufacture. It's simply waiting for the conditions that will allow it to appear. And these conditions were present in spades this weekend. As you engaged with the teachings, were supported by your community, and were open to the unfolding of your lives. And it was in the opening talk that you were introduced once again to the first noble truth of suffering. We desire things that currently don't exist, and we are dissatisfied with things that do. And this was a truth that you kept bumping up against again and again and again over the course of the weekend. Desire keeps us from simply being able to accept ourselves and our current conditions in which we find ourselves. And if we uproot our desire to want things to be different, we think we can put an end to the pattern of our suffering, of wanting things to be different than they are. These teachings were alive for many of us in our experience of this retreat and our lives this weekend. Our experience of the retreat didn't go as planned. It didn't go according to our agenda. The retreat didn't unfold according to the way we thought we should experience it. So these teachings were very much alive and not by coincidence. And finally, as I've already said, our community supported us each and every step of the way. Ordinarily, we don't look at other people as the source of safety and help. We silently view others with fear and mistrust and calculation, and often for good reason. The degree to which we're willing to be genuinely open and honest to our fellow travelers as a source of help and refuge asks us to reevaluate our habitual responses to people. And it takes a leap of faith to recognize our community as open, caring, and concerned about our welfare. And when we risk ourselves within a community, we begin to soften and experience the nurturing warmth that comes from a community of people who support one another. We're often afraid to share our innermost thoughts, feelings, aspirations, and suffering out of fear of ridicule. But our community has shown again this weekend over the course of the retreat that we are one of acceptance, non-judgment, support, and we will allow you the dignity of your own experience. This weekend, I witnessed an openness, an authenticity, and a vulnerability that allowed us to come together as a community and for each one of you to thrive in your practice. And that sense of community, that sense of support, that sense of acceptance and non-judgment was palpable over the course of the weekend. Next in the teachings, we came to the class of Ahimsa. And we were asked to hold a mirror to all the ways that we fight against our lives. All the ways we close ourselves off from the truth of our existence. And when we become aware of the aggression, we have a choice to open to our experience as it is and settle into our bodies. And I want to be clear here. This release of aggression is not asking you to let go of the anger, the rage, the sorrow, the frustration, the grief, the fear, the anxiety, or the panic. It's asking you to let go of fighting what is there. It is another call to embrace the openness of your body, the openness of your heart. Your heart is already open. Open means your heart is not limited by your conceptual ideas and the agendas you impose on your life. Your heart is not limited by the belief that you should not be angry, that you should not be frustrated, that you should not be sad, that you should not be fearful, that you should not be anxious or full of panic. Your heart is simply open to whatever is present. We resist our lives from our emotional landscape to illness, to aging, to the various events of the day. We fight against our lives. Our heart does not. Our heart is completely open to the emotional landscape, to our illness, to our aging, to the various events of our day. It's super easy to become tense and frightened by the unexpected in our life, by loss, by disappointment, by insecurity, by aging, by death, by success, by being asked to move on in our lives. And so we fight against our life. We run from our pain. We grasp at security. We grasp at the familiar. We grasp at pleasure. We fight against our life in every dimension of our experience, inner and outer. And this creates layers of tension in our body that further numbs us to our awareness and clear seeing. And this fighting against our experience was very much alive in our retreat. And I witnessed each one of you return to your practice again and again and again, opening to your experience as it was. And using the metaphor of our practice, opening to the pain in your big toe. Sometimes the pain will let go. Sometimes the pain will change. And sometimes the pain will stay the same. And that's the practice. And so we took one seat over and over and over again. And as Jack Kornfield says, when we take one seat, we become our own monastery. We create the compassionate space that allows for the arising of all things, the sorrows, the loneliness, the shame, the desire, the regret, the frustration, and the happiness. So this weekend, each one of you made a commitment to stop running away from your own lives. This weekend, the commitment was to take one seat with your true nature, with these teachings, with our community. You were able to open into each moment of your experience with a more clear, more receptive, more honest state of consciousness. This weekend, we practiced coming deeply into our own bodies. We're learning again and again that there is no wisdom to seek outside of ourselves. Through these practices, we are uncovering a depth of subtlety in our embodied experience. We're building a relationship of trust with our bodies. When we begin to feel shaky or weak, or like things are falling apart, we might feel like something's gone wrong with our practice. We might feel like something's wrong with our one seat. And I've seen some of this questioning this weekend from you and even from myself. But there's nothing wrong. In fact, everything is right. these practices, this yoga is not some kind of gymnastics. This meditation is not some kind of mental gymnastics. It's not a project to become more peaceful in our lives. It's not about becoming more clear or more effective in our lives. It's not about controlling our experience. It's not about creating a desired state of mind. This is spiritual bypassing. A true spiritual practice is about transformation. It's about affecting lasting change in your life. And this has been a weekend of transformation. When you take one seat, you will face what is true about your life. It's not easy. It takes courage. Sitting in one seat, we connect with ourselves, with the present moment in this body and on this earth. We become our own monastery. We create an open space that allows for the arising of all things. The sorrow, the loneliness, the shame, the desire, the regret, the frustration, the happiness. And if we're using our meditation practice to search for peace, we will be bypassing all the opportunities for insight. Insight can be painful. And part of our practice is not judging the insight. It's not the more peaceful the meditation, that the better the session was. It's not the more peaceful the retreat, the better the retreat was. Sometimes our retreat will bring us peace. Sometimes it will bring us painful insight. And so taking one seat requires trust. We learn to trust what needs to open within us at this time. We learn to trust the timing of our body. In fact, our body will know how to open naturally and the way that is right for our body at this time. And so we can trust the timing of what has been arising for each and every one of us here this weekend. We tend to tighten our bodies in response to the painful experiences of our lives, whether they be physical, emotional, or psychological. And as we open to the sensations in our body through our practice, we turn towards the emotions and the thoughts in our minds. We gradually include all that we had previously shut out of our awareness. And then we have the opportunity to heal. So each one of us has been asked to open to something that we have previously shut out of our awareness over the course of this weekend retreat. Our body has brought something forward so that it can be transformed and it can be healed. Our task this weekend has been to open to what is coming forward. Nothing more, nothing less. The chaos is good news. It's not a problem. It's your body's way of saying the timing is right. It's your body's way of opening into a trusting relationship with you. As you get into these deeper layers, many sensations are open to come to the surface. You may experience these sensations as pain, as illness, as emotions, as mental garbage. These sensations are not a problem, even though they're going to seem that way. Your body is simply opening. The chaos does not mean that anything is wrong with you. The chaos is goodness. It's the great emptiness that occurs before a new beginning. It's the open space that allows you to reconnect with what lies underneath. It allows you to connect with your basic goodness. It becomes the pivot point of touching your basic goodness. Our habit of wanting to be somewhere else is so conditioned that it takes an ocean of patience to connect gently and steadily and with calm attention. But through the practices we've done this weekend, we can allow ourselves to access deeper and more subtle realms of stillness in our bodies and feel how we begin to slowly settle and are eased from the distraction. So we let go and we settle in again and again with more openness and more ease. And so we rest into the earth underneath us. We feel the always present steadiness and calmness available to us. And with this as our starting point for connectedness and peacefulness, we can relax and sink into the moment and connect with what is present in our physical sensations, our emotions, our thoughts, our energy, and our spirit. We have this system of support that's always available to us, and it allows our body to be relaxed without expending excess energy. It allows our body to experience softness and ease and a vibratory flow. Instead of exerting our own muscular tension, hardening, pain, and numbness, we can relax into this support. And this support is the gravitational field of the earth. It's always flowing underneath this. It draws us towards the center of the earth. It provides support and buoyancy. The force of gravity supports us and it secures our stability. And so instead of bracing against our experience, we can open to this always present support. So feel the earth underneath you. Lift and straighten your spine. Lift the back of your head. Lower your chin. Allow yourself to rest in your posture. Place your attention gently on your breath in your lower belly. And ask yourself, what stands out from your experience of your retreat this weekend? What seems most important about your experience of this retreat this weekend? What is your body telling you now? What message is coming forward from your body? So keep staying with your straight spine, the lift in the back of your head, space along your back line. In a moment, you will be invited to be able to speak about your experience of what stood out for you about your retreat, and what wisdom is present for you from your body. But remember, all we're asking you to do is to stay present in your embodied experience. Each one of us has had a unique experience of this unfolding retreat. Each experience is going to be unique. So keep staying connected to your body and to what's true for your embodied experience and to what's arising and opening for you at this time. So when you feel ready, I invite you to open your eyes, and I will unmute you all, and you can turn on your video cameras. And so this is the space for you to be able to share with your community your experience of the retreat and what's coming forward from your body.
I'm exhausted. I'm absolutely exhausted. I can't believe how tired I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it, of course, does not have anything to do with two, yoga practices a day. I think there's this enormous accumulation of held sorrow, of feelings of responsibility for the world, for my small world, for the world outside of me, feelings of shame and guilt and, all that stuff you said. Every one of those emotions. And I just cannot believe how tired I am.
Mm-hmm.
A word of, full disclosure, I did the final yoga practice and really felt much lighter. And I will be finishing up within the next 24 hours just so that I could feel the arc. I could feel the coming out of the experience. But I think that I think that the exhaustion is real. And I think it's been knocking on the door with this question of, me starting to say no to things and not commit myself and not try to be everywhere at once and everything to everyone. And then what I wanted to do is say, and then when I get all rested, then I can go back out there and I can do I can do all these things that I imagine are there to do. And I think what's true is that I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what. Yeah. But I trust that it will come.
Over the course of the weekend, as I watched you engage with the practices, I saw an openness and a willingness to be present to what was arising, that when you gave the knocking at the door metaphor, you know, of many things that have been knocking at your door, you know, and then to go back to your metaphor, whereas you have been out. Paige has been out in the past.
Yes.
And this weekend, to use your own words, you decided to stay home and open the door and to be present to what was there. And so, of course, that was exhausting, right? It was all there and it hadn't been heard in a long time, right? It's like having a house full of visitors that have been waiting for you for however long, right? They had a lot to say.
Yes.
Yeah. I suspect the volume of that might go down over time.
Me too. Gonna keep staying. That's my main. Actually, I do know what I'm going to do next. That's what I'm going to do. I'm staying home. I'm listening to myself. I'm doing the things that are present.
I had a really interesting day yesterday. I was focused, I was present, I was in the moment, and of course it made me think, what are you doing, Hannah? You're supposed to be disrupted and full of emotion. And what is that chaos? I was around that. Okay, well, in that case, your retreat isn't enough, is it? So I eventually did realize that I had to be present, and I was present, and I was happy, and that's another emotion that I'm allowed to feel. So it was fine, because I'm responding to the practices in a way that my body wants, then that's okay too. And I did wake up this morning and think, just be with it and see what happens. It may be another day exactly like it, it may not. And I was focused and present this morning, and real confusion and kind of frustration with appearing at lunchtime. When I actually sat with it, was the meditation and listened to your words. And you quoted Michael Lee, when there is awareness, then there are choices. So I was thinking that means that because I have this frustration, I can sit with it. But I had a choice yesterday to be happy, so I was. So it's been a really interesting retreat, because retreats are supposed to be dynamic and chaotic or totally peaceful. But I was active and I was having a lovely day. And I really found this very helpful in looking at myself in a different way.
Yeah, both ends.
Can I talk? What stood out to me is a lot of feelings, of different feelings, and I don't know if the words paradoxal,
Yeah, paradoxical feelings. Yeah.
feelings like pain and fight, and also compassion and love. And finally, the statement that it's okay to not be perfect, and there is hope for a future with no fight. And I didn't think that there was so many fights within me. I was really, really surprised, and the retreat was totally unexpected in that way. I started Friday, par hasard. It was not expected for me to do retreat this weekend, but well, I was here and I was ready, so woo, let's jump on it. And it was perfect because it was now. I had to do it now, and I absolutely don't regret it. And I jumped in without knowing what to expect, but probably not this. And these 2 or 3 days were like a
roller coaster.
When woo, I'm super good. Woo, it's okay. And woo, I'm super. It was. I'm really up and really down and really up and really down. And finally, I feel lighter. I feel some relief, and I feel a deeper level of compassion toward myself. And it's okay. It's okay. And yes.
It makes me think about what my teacher often says to me, the most beautiful words out of his mouth. It's not a problem. And it's like, oh, okay.
We went in Tanzania, and there is the country words are Hakuna Matata. There's no problem.
Yeah.
And I keep telling that to the kids on the school, and that's right. Hakuna Matata.
Yeah. Words to live by.
Yeah.
At the end, Melissa, when you said to tune into what our bodies are saying to us, my body said to me that I'm going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Looks like that was a sigh of relief for you. Phew.
That's a lovely cat you have, Diane.
Thank you. She loves being in the yoga room with me. She's got her own little yoga mat, and she's with me up. Pretty relaxed. And she has her own form of meditation when I'm meditating. For sure. She's never this relaxed normally. Like if I'm out and around the house, she would never let me do this. She'd never be in my lap or anything. Just in my yoga room, she's like this. That says something.
I think the biggest shock for me was the way that it affected the whole house. That it really was like a bomb in the middle of the house, and the whole house just erupted all around me, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I think it was because I'm the linchpin and I wasn't there. I went to do something that I wanted to do for a change, and suddenly everybody had to fend for themselves for 2 days, and it was just so unusual. And so all the picking and the nipping that had been going on, that I was always there to filter, suddenly I wasn't there. And what I took out of it was that I was actually going to turn up on a Monday night for the meditation and just say, this is my time too.
I really appreciated you at that statement that about an emotional bomb going off. Really stood out to me because it was very poignant, and it speaks to the truth of these teachings, this lineage, the way I have always taught, which, if you haven't noticed, I'll lay it out for you very clearly. You do not have to go to India or to a cave or remove yourself from your life to experience the teachings, to connect with the truth of your being. Your life is your greatest teacher. When Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was asked, who is your guru? He said, life is my guru. Life is your guru. And so this weekend, the retreat is all laid out for you. There's kind of a container there that says, okay, here's this container. But did you notice that each one of you, there's a container, and yet you're all living your own lives. You're each having your own unique experience. And so you're each bringing a larger container of your own life to this retreat. And so that was very much my experience as well, right? You know, I created this container of the retreat, and also I was being asked to be in a different container this weekend. You know, I'm involved in a program where I had to attend over the course of this weekend. I have 3 different events that I have to attend for that program. So just, you know, where I was able to be was somewhat different. So, you know, each of us has the bomb that's been dropped on us, that is our life, that is the teachings as well. And that's very important. And it's not a coincidence what's coming up for you. That's the biggest. And, you know, each one of you spoke about what came up for you. And those are the teachings. Because, you know, we talk about there's the teachings and then there's the contemplation. And all of you were able to have this container. And then within the context of your life, you were able to relate to the teachings. That's the contemplation. And that's where you're able to say, hey, you know, this is true for me. This is not true for me. This is how it relates to me in my life. And this is how you're able to, this is where the transformation takes place. Right? There's no contemplation, then it's just, you know, I don't know. It's just words.
It's life. It's life. It's just life without contemplation.
Well, I don't know if it's even, it's just going through the motions, really, you know. So the piece of the way the life intersects with the teachings and the way that you contemplate that is really huge. And so I really like that. I felt, I've got it right up here on my screen. I felt as though an emotional bomb had been dropped in the center of our home. And each one of you had a version of that bomb right in the center of this retreat. And it's tempting to think that that's distracting you from the retreat. No, that's the retreat. That's the experience. And it's your willingness to open to that bomb. That's the important thing. You know, and when you go, no, that's not part of it. That's the spiritual bypassing, right? No, I'm on retreat. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. No, that's, you know, what's coming up is what you're supposed to be doing. That's the important stuff. So that was what was really huge, was the way so many of you were able to bring forward in the container. And that was where the community really came alive too, right? Was that you were all able to hold that space for whatever was coming up, and everybody was going, this shouldn't be happening. Yeah, it should. That's exactly it. That's exactly your retreat. So that's a wonderful thing. You know, you probably have the experience, you tell people, oh, I'm on retreat this weekend. Everybody goes, oh, so nice for you. Oh, how lovely. I'd love to take a weekend and go on retreat. And you're like, I'm kind of petrified to go on these 7 days that are coming up in June. Absolutely terrifies me. I know I'm not coming out unscathed. I can barely go to meditation class on a Friday morning without it being like absolutely life-altering. 7 days, 8 hours a day, like, you know, it's like full on 24 hours a day. Retreats are full on.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm kind of digressing. I think you guys are getting the point. So that's important, Jane. And each one of you, I think it's important, and each one of you will take something important away. And it's not always the, like, you know, sometimes you're going to be asked to take the descending journey, and sometimes you're going to be asked to take the ascending journey. And the ascending journey can be just as scary as the descending journey. You know, sometimes you're going to be asked to come up and out. And you're like, God, no. I'd rather just stay down and in here. That would be more comfortable for me. So, you know, there can be an edginess to both. Like, you know, Hannah spoke about being asked to open to joy and ease. Wow, that's different, right?
Yeah, and I was irritable and cross yesterday evening. I wonder why that was.
I don't know, right? So I'm just going to check in to see if anybody else wants to check in before we wrap up. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can.
I had that same experience as being really tired. And also on Friday night, I was surprised to find that like I had this big disconnect with my body. I didn't realize how disconnected I was from it. So that caused some surprise and discomfort for me until I got up on Saturday and listened to your teachings and did the class. And I realized that this is just where I am right now. And I can be okay with that because I think all of the teachings for this month started coming together for me at that point of how there's no work and where we are right now is okay. And we don't have to work at it when we do the practice. All will gradually unfold for us. And I felt like I was able to be okay with that and realize that over time I'll be able to, it'll just unfold over time is what I mean.
Yeah, it absolutely will. So we're, you know, each one of us is building a relationship with our body. And in many ways, as a culture, we're quite disconnected from our bodies. And, you know, we do so many things to override our bodies. You know, we work when we're tired. We don't go to bed when we're tired. We don't eat when we're hungry. We overeat when we're full. We do so many things to override the messages of our bodies. And in this practice, we're coming and we're saying, I'm listening, right? For perhaps the first time in our lives. And so it takes some time to build that trusting relationship, right? Or, you know, or even it can be, you know, an emotion comes up and it's like, or, you know, we've been taught in our families or whatever that it's not okay for you to express your emotions. So then you go through your entire lifetime not expressing emotions or not feeling your emotions or being taught to suppress your emotions. Mm-hmm. And so there's a complete disconnect from your body. Mm-hmm. Or we're taught that it's only okay to express certain emotions. So, you know, as you say, it's a growing relationship, and that's It's okay. It's going to take time. It's like when you first meet somebody, right? You know, you don't tell them your entire life story and spill all the beans and emote everything upon first meeting somebody. That's a little weird, right?
Right.
You don't tell them everything when you first meet them. And if somebody does that, a red flag should go up. That's a real kind of boundary issue, right? It's the same thing with your body. When you come to your body's, you know, going to open to you in the same way that a normal human being should in a relationship. It's going to start to tell you things slowly until you build a trusting relationship, right? It's going to be like, hey, my shoulders are a little numb. Okay. All right. A little numbness in my shoulders. Got a little headache. Hey, I'm a little hungry. And the more we start listening, the more we start building that trusting relationship. It's no different than any other relationship. The more we listen, the more that relationship unfolds. And it's a very beautiful relationship. But just like any other relationship, any other friendship, it takes that time. You know, it takes dedicating that time to it. Which is just saying exactly what you said in a different way.
Melissa, just a little bit when you were talking about sometimes people don't show their emotions throughout their lifetime. They have a hard time. That would be me. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I just have a hard time sometimes showing my emotions.
I can relate to that one too. Yeah. You know, it's not, I think it's quite cultural, you know, there aren't very many places where it's acceptable or safe and to fully express our emotions in many relationships, you know. And so even with ourselves, it can be quite scary to fully open to our emotional landscape. And when we do this meditation, I think we can trust the process of feeling into our bodies. Mm-hmm. And slowly over time, at first, especially I think if there is a lot of numbness, emotionally, there will be numbness. There will be not feeling, and feel the not feeling.
Yeah.
Just the more you open to the not feeling, you'll start to find those pathways into feeling. You know, like I think about in my body, the calf muscle, is particularly a place in my body of non-feeling. And I'll just feel into how much that just feels numb. Mm-hmm. And find feel all the parts of the non-feeling there. And the more, you know, it's like that I open to the not feeling, there's something opens where there is like a little bit of feeling, you know, and then I feel that. So first there's numbness. And after numbness, then there's pain.
Do you think where I had a hard time showing my emotions over my lifetime, that be what you're saying is part of the reason why I have a lot of numbness throughout my meditation. Do you think that is connected in some way?
It could be, but we don't even really need to worry about it.
No.
Yeah. Because that's just, it kind of goes into analyzing, and then that becomes the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll come out. And it'll come out, it'll come out,
Yeah.
probably when you least expect it, and it'll start knocking, and then all of a sudden it'll just be like emotional vomit everywhere.
I can hardly wait.
Yeah, I don't know. and then it'll just go and go and go. Yeah, but you just keep doing the practice.
Yeah, sure.
I had a question. When you wrote on the board about how you saw your role in the community changing, and I was wondering if you wanted to share more about that.
Yeah, I was wondering if that would come up.
Do you mind talking about that? Or
I don't feel it's sort of all worked out for me. Like, I feel like what Paige said, it sort of feels it feels like a bit foggy. But I have been feeling that I just can't keep up with my own expectations of where I feel like I can't do what I expected myself to do. And I feel like my body is asking me to practice. And I'm saying, but no, I have to be here and practicing. And my body is saying, but here is your practice. And when you practice here, you have insight, you're given insight on how to lead, on how to teach, and this is where you are being asked to be right now. So I have a teacher that is guiding me, that is giving me practices, and that's my container, and my old ways of being is saying, I have to be right here with all of you. And everything in me is saying, everything in my body is saying that my one seat is here with my teacher, with these practices. And that is where my learning, my transformation, my growth, and my teaching is coming from right now. And when I do that, I'm able to be a better teacher for all of you. So it's like it's a tumbling down of an old way of being, right? That says, like, if I ask you to scrub toilets, I should be scrubbing the toilets beside you, right? But I'm just scrubbing a different toilet. I've just kind of realized that. You guys are scrubbing these toilets over here, and I'm scrubbing these toilets here. My teacher's not scrubbing these toilets. My teacher's scrubbing these toilets, right? So
we all have our own path,
right? Yes, and it's sort of permission for me to be the teacher and you to be the students.
We have different needs, my opinion, but we all have different needs. And like, I even see there are people's needs are met differently in the community. You're like the cadre of leadership that works with you have different needs than, I mean, it's just, that's objective. And I think, and I'm saying this because I really feel deeply a couple of things. I feel that that's true. I feel that it's always true. And that there's a difference between equality and absolute egalitarianism. We all don't need the same things.
That's true.
But we all do have a right to what we need.
Yes.
And the other thing is, I experience in my body and in my spirit your transformation. Like it lives in my house, it lives in my body. I see what you bring now that you didn't have 2 years ago, because you do continue to grow. And that's true from the beginning. And I deeply think and being that example is profoundly important for me, and I think for our community.
Yeah, and so thank you for saying that. I think that there is always, for me, there will always be an importance for transparency. So that is not going away. So there's the egalitarian part of it, right? We're all on a path of growth and transformation, and I am not excluded from that. All of our lives are asking us to grow and shift and change, and mine included. And the teachings that we need are going to be different for each one of us at different times, which is what you're saying, Paige. And each of us are at a different place on our journey. And that is why that talk at the beginning for today was so long. Because each one of you are going to touch in at a different point. You know, some of it is just going to go for some of you right now. And some of it is, you know, you're going to each touch in at a different point that makes sense to you most right now. And that's the way it is at any stage of our life. And that's why you can come to the teachings again and again and again, because we could do this retreat again next April and we'll all be in a different place and we'll all receive something completely different from it. Did you feel like every time I read I've read Jack Kornfield's book Path with Heart before. I read it 5 years ago. I don't feel like I ever read it before. Feels like a completely fresh book to me. And when I read it that time, I swear to God, it was the most profound, life-changing book I ever read 5 years ago.
Happens to me with classes all the time. I'll think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I never did this class. And then you'll say something. Usually it's something, you know, funny or like a real life moment. And I'll go, oh wait, I've done this class a lot.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So I think, for me, there is a discomfort in what I'm asking of myself. But I think it's been unfolding for a while in the way that I've been building the leadership team, changing the leadership team. We'll continue to change the leadership team. Yeah, and also even just in the way that I brought this retreat forward this weekend, in the way that our community continues to unfold. So I think that it continues to shift and evolve. I mean, Tim said to me earlier this month, and we had a big fight about it actually. He said, you haven't done a motivational meetup for a long time. I said, no. I said, I can't do those anymore. He said, but you have to. And we fought about it for a long time. He said, I don't care that it's not in your heart to not do those anymore. You have to do them. And I said, I can't. I just can't. I hear what you're saying. I hear that I need to bring community, but our community it's not in that space anymore. We're just being called to be. There's a deeper level being called for here. Yeah. So that's where I really took a step back at the beginning of April. So and that's part of, right? It's part of stepping into that space of leadership, that space of teacher, that space of Sangha leader, saying, no, this isn't the way it's going to unfold anymore. This is what's going to happen.
And if it did all stay the same, then none of us would evolve. None of us would feel that our journey was going anywhere, and we'd all disappear. So it would be an evolving track of beginners coming in and then leaving. Yeah.
And beginners are important. I mean, they really are. I mean, they are, and I say that, and we're barely teaching any beginner classes anymore. So I guess,
But there are loads and loads of beginners classes. Yes,
there are. You're right. And even Tim just said the other day that we don't need to teach any more beginner classes. No. Yeah. There's a structure in place. And what I want to say, because I think I very much, I adore beginners. Like I just love the way Jenny's come in and just jumped in with 2 feet. There's nothing I love more than seeing somebody at the beginning of their path. There's something really beautiful about it, about the aspiration of a beginner. Right, the beginner's mind.
Yeah, it's very inspiring as well. Mm-hmm. If certainly for me, being on the path for a while, Jenny, I loved it when you arrived, and Madeline, being a part of the community for 5 years, it just reminds me of all the joy of searching through and finding the new classes and meeting everybody.
I think it allows all of us to connect with the beginning of our journey too, right? Yeah. Whenever somebody new comes, and where we were at the beginning, and there's a kind of purity to that, right? There's a kind of innocence to the beginning of the path that we're able to connect with through people when they come in. Right.
I remember when I came to Melissa, I knew nothing, barely anything at all. Grown so much over the last 5 years. It's been amazing. Yeah, through yoga practice, through meditation, it's been wonderful.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, really, isn't it? That we've all been here for a while now. Mm-hmm. So things are going to shift and change and grow, and if they don't, they're gonna die.
It will stagnate. Yeah.
Stagnate. Yeah.
Mm.
And I think the thing about our community is that we've always been quite open about that too, the process. And it's not always easy. It's and not everybody will come along for the whole ride. And that's
should be a good thing as well. If people
Yeah.
see that, if people notice that this isn't the place for them, then
Yeah.
they need to go and find another place.
That's true too.
Yeah. It needs to be as open as possible, so that in many ways this can be a learning curve for people who don't belong here.
It's true too. It's true. Yeah. That being said, it is very easy in our culture to move on when things get uncomfortable. And so I do very much give huge kudos to people who stay with the discomfort, because, and we'll close out with this, because it does take courage to stay with the one seat and to look at your own shit. Because it is a lot easier to go out and say, well, that person is just going to tell me everything that is good and everything that is good about me. And then I can go along there and just have a spiritual party. So you could go do that for a while if you want. Or you can stay here and be miserable with me.
You should sell a branded box of tissues, Melissa.
I know. That's what I said to my that's what I said to my teacher on Friday. I said, amongst my complete meltdown, I feel like I'm a cartoon with a black cloud with rain coming down in front of me. And she's like, what? It wasn't even going in for him. I'm like a cloud with rain. I'm just always telling bad news. What? I'm like, if you drew me, it would be a cloud with rain.
Oh, like the little snowman in Frozen. Olaf with his snow above his head.
Yeah.
But in actuality,
Go ahead.
It's the complete opposite.
Well, then we have the community, right? We put up the umbrella.
Mary Poppins.
I like your jokes.
Anyway, thank you all for being part of this retreat, for making the community what it is, and for your openness and your willingness to fully show up this weekend. And as I say, I appreciate the way you listened to your own bodies and the way that you did practice this retreat this weekend, and practiced as much or as little as it felt necessary this weekend. But over the next few days, do finish the retreat, because as I say, there's an arc and you don't want to finish at chaos. You want to finish at calming and coming back into the earth, so that you're not up here in the thunderstorm. You want to finish. You want to finish in the earth, okay? Yeah. Okay. Have a good week. And we do, if you feel so called, I will see you tomorrow at the meditation tomorrow as well. Okay. Namaste.
Namaste.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.